Should you transfer your bank accounts into your living trust? This is a very common question that I get, and so I want to share my tips and tricks with you today. You might have set up your living trust, but your money is still under your personal name, and so you might have the question of, do I need to transfer that account into the trust to allow my trust to control who gets it after I pass away, or should I simply add beneficiaries? If maybe you want it to go to your kids or to your spouse, so you want to name them directly as the beneficiaries versus putting it into the trust. So this question depends on who you want to manage the money after you pass away, how much control you want your beneficiaries to have. And so I'm going to go through all of that with you today. Now, I want to bust a myth right now, which is a lot of people think I have a trust. My trust is going to control everything that I own. When I pass, I've signed a trust, and so everything's going to go smoothly according to what my trust says. And that's just not the case. If you didn't put a beneficiary in your bank account, even if you had a trust, then that bank account could end up in probate or could end up in the hands of the wrong people. So in this video, you're going to learn when to transfer your bank accounts and when to name your trust as the beneficiary instead, or to move the account into the trust, and when it's okay to list individuals directly. By the way, my name is Edmund. I'm a living trust attorney. I've helped over 1,000 clients, and I'm excited to share my tips and tricks with you today. Before we start, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our new videos with very practical estate planning tips. Please don't call us for free legal advice or for us to answer questions for you. We won't be able to do that. So unless you want to hire us, please don't call us. If you want free information, check out my free trust class at freetrustclass.com. The link is on the bottom of this video. And so here's what you're going to learn today. When to transfer your bank accounts into your trust, when to add the trust as a beneficiary, when to name individuals directly as beneficiaries, and how to avoid very common banking mistakes that I see. So let's get started. So the first question is, when should you transfer bank accounts, right? Usually you want to transfer bank accounts into your trust when you want more control and more continuity. So what I mean by that is, let's say you don't trust your kids or the beneficiary to manage such a large amount of money after you pass away. So you want to give it to them at different ages, or you want the trustee to decide when the child should receive their inheritance outright and fully. And before then, you want the trustee to manage everything, step in, and take care of everything. And so in those situations, you might want to transfer the bank accounts into the trust. And in today's age, where there's a lot of fraud, a lot of banks, they're not going to allow your power of attorney, your family, to be able to access your accounts unless they get a conservatorship, meaning unless they go to court, especially when you're incapacitated. And so these days, we've been suggesting to our clients, hey, you might want to transfer that account into the trust while you're alive, because if you're incapacitated, your family might not be able to access it without going through all those legal hoops, because banks don't trust people bringing documents in after you're incapacitated, claiming that you're incapacitated and now they want your money. And so banks are very careful. Even if you have a power of attorney that's legally signed and legally enforceable, a lot of banks are giving family members a lot of pushback these days. So to avoid that, you want to transfer the bank account into your trust while you're alive. So then the banks already know who the trustees are. And so when the trustee actually shows up with your medical paperwork, then they're more likely to give them access and control without having them jump through the court system. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as you are deciding whether or not you want to move some assets into the trust. I recommend you move some of the larger accounts into your trust, your savings accounts, your investment accounts. Those should be transferred to the trust. I'm not talking about your retirement accounts, okay? Retirement accounts should stay out of the trust while you're alive because of tax reasons. Now, sometimes you might want to add the trust as the beneficiary. Okay, so a lot of folks don't want to transfer accounts into the trust because it might be difficult. Banks sometimes make you close down the account and open up a new one. So if you have an old checking account with all your records, you probably don't want to do that. If you have an investment account, you probably don't want to do that as well. You can still transfer investments into a new account without selling, so you don't have to incur taxes. So that's something to keep in mind. But some folks, they just want to add the trust as the beneficiary because they don't want to move an account into the trust, because that's just too much paperwork, and they want to keep that long-standing account that they had. So you want to pick and choose. Okay, which accounts do I close and put assets into the trust? Which accounts do I keep and just put the trust as the beneficiary? Okay, so that's your option. You can either transfer the account into the trust, let your trust control who gets that money, or you're going to put the trust as the direct beneficiary, keep it under your name while you're alive. So then it's very simple, very easy while you're alive. As a caveat, remember, if you keep it under your personal name, what happens is that if you're incapacitated, your power of attorney might not be able to manage that account for you. So that's one of the drawbacks of not moving the account into the trust while you're alive. So make sure that you understand these types of scenarios before you make the best decision for yourself as to whether or not to move the account into the trust or simply add the trust as a beneficiary. Now, the third option is to name individuals directly. So, for example, you might have a checking account and you just want to go straight to your son when you pass, not in a trust, not managed by the trust administration process. And so you can do that. You can put your spouse, your kids, small amounts of money, even big amounts of money. You can put direct beneficiaries if you trust that person to manage it. Now, keep in mind, though, if you do that, your trust is not going to control who gets it. The beneficiary designations trump the trust distributions. If your trust says that account goes to this person, but then in your beneficiary designation on your bank account it goes to another, then you have a problem. Okay, so you want to make sure you understand that before you make that crucial decision. Also, if you have joint ownership accounts, you would not be able to move the account into the trust. If you jointly owned it with a sibling or with a friend, you can put a joint account between your spouse and you into the trust, but not with someone else. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. So you want to name individuals directly when you trust them, when you want things to go directly to them and outside of the trust. You shouldn't do it for minor children or children with mental incapacities or an adult child who is not responsible. You want to put the trust as a beneficiary or transfer the account into the trust in those situations. Now, avoid some of these common banking mistakes that I see. Again, if you don't transfer the account into the trust, then the trust doesn't control. Or if you don't add the trust as a beneficiary, the trust is not going to control where that money goes. Okay, so that's really important. Also, some people, they add the wrong trust name as a beneficiary, which can be a disaster, or put the date of the trust wrong. So you have to be very clear. So usually you'll have a certificate of trust that says the name of the trust, the date of the trust. So make sure you give that to the bank, okay? And then, of course, do not name your minor children directly on your bank accounts. It's going to force a guardianship. Someone needs to manage it for them until they're 18. And once they're 18, they're going to do whatever they want with that money. So you probably don't want that. So you want to make sure you put it into the trust, transfer the account into the trust, or put the trust as a beneficiary to ensure that the kids don't squander their inheritance, okay? Check out my free trust class if you want to learn how to make your own living trust without hiring an attorney. I also point out some common mistakes that I see, so check that out. And before I go, I want to share this Bible verse with you. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. This is in Psalm 37:5. God's reminding us that we can trust Him. Commit our ways to them, meaning entrust our entire course of our lives to Him. Our plans, our desires, our burdens, our estate plan, our children, right? Give that to God. Acknowledge that He alone governs all the outcomes of this world. He's sovereign. Everything that happens is not a mistake. It's not by chance. He is the one who's in charge of this world. So that gives me comfort because I know that I can't do anything on my own. I trust in God. I acknowledge Him, and He makes my path straight. So I pray that you will also experience the goodness of God, the power of God in your life, the faithfulness of God, because God sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to die for you. All of us have sinned, right? But Jesus died for your sins. And now, If you believe that, if you believe Jesus is your Savior and your Lord, you're going to follow him with all your heart. You're going to follow God with all your heart. You're going to open up the scriptures and you're going to see the wonders of God's wisdom. Like there's nothing in the Bible that's not true. All of it is true. And so when we live according to God's rules, God's principles, then we will naturally be blessed, right? It's not a perfect life. We still sin, but we live a life knowing God, and that's exactly what he wants us to do. So God bless you all. I pray that if you have any estate planning questions, ask me. I can't answer all of them, but ask me, and I'll do my best to make a video on it. I'm not your attorney, you're not my client, and so if you need legal advice, talk to an attorney. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.